not gonna waste time. We're not gonna waste time. We're supposed to be alive in the tube of YouTube very soon. We're gonna wait to see if it's broadcasting live. The last time I had some kind of issue with that. Yeah, and it takes a little bit to start tonight. Oh, it's starting now. It's starting now. So we should be, broadcasting live. Yeah, we should be live on YouTube. Boom! We're back for the Truman Show, episode 122. Feel highly favored, as always, being with Santos Bonacci tonight. Saturday Night Live on the Truman Show with Santos. How are you, Santos?
Great, brother. Yourself?
Yeah, very good. Better than most. And I have a very, very special guest tonight. Lily is here with us for the next 2 hours in that hangout. Also, she has questions about astrology and all that, so it's going to be a good time to establish a great connection, to nourish the connection, because the connection's already established. I've been looking at Lily. I discovered her, but I said it in the other Truman Show we did together the other week. We did something together, me, you, and DVG, and that's what I said. I discovered Lily in her video on YouTube. She talks about astrology a lot, and she's very, very knowledgeable in astrology, and I was impressed at the way she speaks and everything, so that's what attracted me to her. Very great mind, Lily, and I seen that as soon as I got on your video. It's something, greatness, you recognize that when you see it, that's for sure. And you're great.
You, friend. So thank you.
I can feel that. So welcome here tonight. And that's it. Tonight we have a lot of stuff that we're going to talk about for sure. It's always, very... we don't waste our time, and we make sure that we have great content. And tonight we're going to talk about the periodic table of elements to start, because I always been a very, very big fan of science. I always been fascinated by science in my college years and when I was in high school and all that. So it's always something that attracted me, but I always looked at it in the program mind, with a program mind before. So now I'm very curious to see that table unfolding with all the elements, but with my awake state that I am now. So, with a more clear point of view on it, with a more awake mind or something. So I'm sure Santos can tell us a lot of stuff about it. Like always, he's a great teacher. That's why we have here. I think it's no secret for nobody. So Santos, if you want, you can go on. And after I have other subjects, we'll just wait and we'll bring this on after. No problem.
Yeah, for sure, brother. Okay, so we're looking at the periodic table. I think I'll share my screen. That would be a good start. We're going to have a look at some interesting things about the periodic table, eh? How's that?
Yeah.
All right, so first of all, there's the table there, and it's just impressive how, can you see that?
Yep, we see it.
All right, great. So these are the so-called elements, L being electricity, okay? These are the different rates of electricity. That's why they are still called elements, simply because they are electrical, okay? Now, an element is not the same as a compound. Water is a compound. It has two elements, hydrogen and oxygen. So it is made of elements, but it is a compound because it has more than one. So these, though, are the basic elements, and really there are only... I suppose that the number goes up to 94 plutonium, and then you can see here that they've got up to 118 of all these elements that are sort of being accepted as elements, and a lot of those are man-made. Okay, so, but generally, we're looking at about 94, 95 elements. Okay, so now first thing you notice is that the table is 18 wide. Okay, 18. elements wide, and that is because we're looking at the key numbers of 9, 18, 27, 36. 36 gives you 360 degrees. So,
and hold on, just to make a little short statement. Also, the 18, like you're saying, it's 3 times 6. And I was thinking the other day why the age of majority is 18 in Quebec and Canada, wherever. It's all 18. So why 18 years old? You know, that's another thing I was wondering. I was going to talk to you about.
Yeah, good. There's a lot in that,
Yeah.
and those numbers have to do with Saturn and Jupiter are the timekeepers. We know, of course, the sun is the timekeeper and the moon. We know that they keep time. That's obvious. But the real timekeepers in the astrological system are Saturn, Jupiter, and the big boys. Okay, like Uranus, for instance, 84 years. Now that is a processional number. Okay, so we won't go deeply into that, but I'm going to bring out some interesting things. Okay, let's have a look at some interesting things that I've discovered. And I know there's a lot in here. It's infinite, but what I've discovered is the 4 main elements of your body, which make up 99% of your body, are hydrogen, which is number 1. Let's have a look at that. If you can see my, there's hydrogen, number 1. So its number is 1. And then, of course, these 3 elements here, carbon, nitrogen, and oxygen, and they are all in a row, 6, 7, and 8. Now, these 4 elements, out of all the elements in the periodic table, actually are prominent in religious themes, okay? And the animals that are prominent in religion are always the serpent, the lamb, the goat, and the cow, yeah? Okay, well, when we look at these elements, when you add the number of hydrogen, number 1, with carbon 6, and nitrogen 7, and oxygen 8, you come to 22. And those are the number of the amino acids in your body. 22 is very important. So 98% of your body is made up of these 4 elements, and they all add up to 22, okay? Now, of course, there's 22 tarot cards, and there's all of these expressions like catch 22, and we know 22 is very, very important. So that's the first thing we notice. But what people don't normally notice is that the elements are celebrated in motifs. And you'll always see the most prominent animal in religious motifs is the serpent. Well, hydrogen is rooted in the word hydra. Okay, and the hydra is the serpent. So the most common animal and the most common element is hydrogen and the serpent. Then we come to carbon. Carbon is actually an anagram for cabra, which is the word for goat in many languages. Carbon, cabra, and that's the goat. Nitrogen is the lamb, and oxygen, of course, is ox, the bull. Where do we get the lamb from nitrogen? Well, it's easy, simple. Nitrogen is the first 2 letters of nitrogen, Ni, actually are the latter part of the word ignite. Okay, to ignite, igni is fire. Okay, and nitrogen, which should have an IG in front of it, ignitrogen, is the fire element, and the lamb is the fire. Carbon is the earth element, and the goat, Capricorn, is the earth. And oxygen, the ox, is the air element of Libra. Okay, so now what we've got is we've got 4 four signs of the zodiac. We've got Aries, Capricorn, Cancer, and Libra. Those are the four cardinal signs that make up the cardinal cross, and these four elements are actually partnered up with these four cardinal signs. So nitrogen, number 7. Remember, in Revelation, the Lamb has 7 seals because it's nitrogen, number 7. Igni. Igni is the Lamb. Igne is another way of saying lamb. Okay, Agnes, Ignis, Igneous, fire. So that's Aries. Hydrogen is the Hydra, which is the Hydra, or the serpent, is a constellation that is next to Cancer. It's actually, the head of the Hydra is in Cancer, and that's hydrogen, which is water, which is the serpent, which is Cancer. And then the ox, of course, is in Libra, and Capricorn is the goat. So you've got all those elements. Hydrogen is expressing water, carbon, earth, nitrogen, fire, and oxygen, of course, ox is air. So we have the four most common elements, the four most common animals, bar none. There are no other animals you will never be able to squeeze. Maybe the lion, but you will never be able to squeeze in any religions throughout the universe 4 more common animals than the serpent, the lamb, the goat, and the cow. Jesus is the good shepherd, Christ, and Krishna is the good cowherd. And so we see all of these gods like Thor with his cows, Jupiter, Zeus, and his bulls. We see Mithra and his cows. So it's the element of oxygen. So now the other thing which impresses me about the periodic table is when we go to the last element, we come to well, the last in my mind, I take 94 here. Can you see 94, guys?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so that is named after Pluto, you see. Now, 93 is named after who? Neptune, Neptunium.
Uranium. Oh, my.
Yeah, and 92 is uranium. So let's have a look at this. When you go to the board here, we'll find something quite amazing. This will, well, it impresses me. I don't know about most of the listeners, but this is the sort of stuff that grabs me, and I see patterns. Where you see patterns, then you start to see form, and you start to see shape, and you start to see creation unfurling and how it really works. What I've done is I've started at the 85th element, and I'm going to show you that whoever conspired to put all the planets in order in the periodic table in its respective order, and I will show you how all those planets line up. Not just Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus, which are well, they're the invisible planets, and they are the outer lying planets. This one was discovered in, say, 1781. Neptune was discovered in 50, somewhere there, and Pluto in 1935. And so that's why they named this these elements uranium, Neptunian, and plutonium. Now, if we go back, what we're going to find is all the other planets are also in line. And this is the astrological order, because the moon is always first. Why? Because her orbit is 28 days, so she's the shortest. Pluto's orbit is 250 or 248 years, and he's the last one. So we've got Mercury 88 days, Venus 225, Sun 1 year, and year means Yah Ram, Jehovah the Ram, because that's the sun, the ram in the sky. Mars is 2 years, Jupiter's 12 years, and Saturn is 30 years. So, do we see this order? Well, yes, we do. And let's have a look at that, please, shall we? So we'll just, first of all, we'll just wipe this off, and we'll put the names of the elements. So let's have a go. And you will start to see what I see on the periodic table. So let's go back to, we're starting at 85, shall we? 85. It's called astatine. Well, let's write down astatine. Okay. What's, can someone help me with 86?
Radon.
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 Beautiful. And radon is a what they call, look down here, and you see it's a halogen. Okay, now, when you look at the word halo, it comes from, rooted in the Greek word for light and salt. Okay, so these are salt mineral elements, and they are light producing. Look at this. Neon, they make neon lights out of that. Helium, argon, number 18, krypton, xenon, and radon. So now we've got radon, and I'm going to show you how this is mercury, okay? And astatine is the moon. Then we come to 87, and we have francium. So francium is supposed to be Venus. Well, how do we get that? Well, we'll see, won't we? And look at this. Next, we're looking for the sun. Radium. Ra, God.
Ra. Ra. Beautiful Ra.
Yep, radium. Dium means God, by the way.
I knew there was something. I knew there was something with that without knowing.
Yeah. 89, actinium. Now, if you're thinking ahead, you will have already worked out absolutely all the planets are in line, from the moon, starting at 85, all the way to 84. The 10 planets, they are all in a row, all there, just sitting there. For me, like dog's testicles, but for other people who don't appreciate words so much, maybe not. Now, number 90, thorium. And we've got for Saturn, we've got here 91, protactinium.
Protactinium.
Alrighty, so let's just now jump back on to the my screen, and let's have a look at what we've got, shall we? So this one's a no-brainer. So most people will just have to agree with that, because Uranus is uranium, Neptune is Neptunium, and Pluto is plutonium. Now, do you think that someone did this? Once I show you that these elements are actually, in fact, the 10 planets, do you think that some geniuses conspired to do this, or do you think the elements are disposed in such a way that everything is syncretic when you pay attention, and it just harmonizes because the universe is harmonious?
It's divine. The whole thing is very divine.
Yep. Okay, so let's go back from here, shall we? 94, Pluto, plutonium, the 10th planet. 9th planet. Now, by the way, this is in the order of astrology, because why? Because this is the true order. This is, in fact, the true order. We know from astrology that the moon is the first lady, Mercury second, then Venus, then the sun, then Mars, then Jupiter and Saturn. Everyone who is learned and reads books knows this order. They've seen it many, many, many times. This is the order of the planets. So as we go back, we come to Prota. Prota. Now, prota, and you can see also the word act in here. Act and proto-actinium. Okay, now, Prota is Saturn because he is the prototype. He is the first. So in mythology, Saturn is Prota because he is the first father. He is the grandfather of all atoms because he is Chronos, time. And whatever appears in time, he is the one with his sickle, the old man Saturn, and his scythe, who actually is the death grim reaper. So he gives birth in time and he destroys in time. Now, when we look at hydrogen, you'll notice that hydrogen, also the most common isotope of hydrogen is called what? Protium. Protium. And that's interesting because 99% of hydrogen in the universe is the isotope of protium. And that also looks very much, so the first element, hydrogen, is actually called protium. Now, not a lot of people know this because they just say generally it's hydrogen, whereas it's protium. And so prota, you get words like protocol, prototype, that's Saturn, simple. Now, Saturn has a son, Jupiter, Zeus. Kronos has a son called Zeus. And his other name in Nordic is Thor.
Thor.
Yeah. the forest fields of Thor, Taurus field. Because Jupiter is the god of gods. Mars is the god of action. Actinium. Mars is martial, action. It's the planet of action. Therefore, appropriately, Mars gets to act in actinium. The sun is Ra. Ra, God, Dium. It's also very close to the word radius. Ra, Deus is Ra, God. Ra, Dium. Whether you put an M there or an S, doesn't matter. I've showed how radius comes from Ra, the radius of a circle, because when you do that, you get a radius. Okay, so radium.
That's why we listen to the radio.
Is the sun.
That's why we listen to the radio.
That's right, radio. That's why Marconi called it a radio, Ra, God, radio, because he said it vibrates. It's a vibration. Radiate, radio, radium. This also, they all vibrate because these are all different rates of vibration. Francium. That's a no-brainer. That's Venus. Venus is Isis. Everywhere you go in France, you see, like Notre Dame. Who's the Dame? Well, it's Isis because that is a temple devoted to Isis. So all of these Isis themes. Paris means for Isis. Paris. Para. For Isis. Paris. Okay, so France has always been Venetian. Simple. Mercury, radon. Well, Mercury is the imitator of the sun, radium. So radon, Mercury, the little sun, which is sometimes called Ra as well. Mercury is called Ra. Yes, the sun is Ra, and so is Mercury, because Mercury is always close to the sun. Okay, and then we have astatine. Well, that's a no-brainer. Asta is Astra, which is the star, which is the moon. And whenever you see this "ine" on the end of it, it's interesting because not many elements have I and E on the end of it like this. This is a very unique element. Teen, well, Magdalene, Helene, Celine, all of this "ine." So if you just took that out, that T out of there, you've got Astra-ine. That's the moon, guys. There's no doubt about this. This is the 10 elements
No
of the
doubt
periodic table,
Yeah.
and they are all in a row.
But you know, you were talking about the first name was Astartine, I think. It flashed in my head. I was thinking about, for some reason, aspartame. Okay, but why do they choose that name, like, to describe that product, like aspartame? Like, why that aspa? You know, it's not a word that you find in the dictionary. Like, normally it's the word that they have made up for the product. No. So does it have to do with some, like, it's maybe just me making things up?
No, those guys, they actually do think about the words that they coin, okay?
Yeah.
And they do put radicals in their words. Radicals are syllables that have meaning, and that's what I'm actually teaching in astrotheology, that you don't look at words. You look at the radicals, which are monosyllables, okay, which is usually 2 vowels and a consonant. Usually it's just 1 vowel and a consonant, but sometimes it's 2 vowels and a consonant, or sometimes even 2 consonants and a vowel, but it's a syllable. And so what they do is they make that. So aspartame, you know, they will have, that could be a word composed of 2 different words or 3 different words, but rest assured they are doing this, okay?
Yeah,
now, just a couple of more quick things. Just to pay attention, they may not mean anything to anyone, but it's worth pointing out about the periodic table. I'm sharing my screen. Can you see the periodic table there?
No.
Not yet.
Oh, there you go. Should be now.
Yep.
All right. So a couple of things that really stand out to me when I look here, I see these things so clearly. Look at this. Helium is number 2. Okay. Now, we also mentioned that the lion is a very common motif in religions and so forth. Well, have a look at that, and you know that the sun is Helios, okay? So we've got hydrogen, water, and then we've got a halogen, a light element bringing light, called helium. Well, that's the sun, and that's the sun in Leo, and that's Helios, that's the lion, you see. So helium is probably the second most common element in a lot of the, say, starry objects, and a lot of the out there in the universe. They have detected that helium is also common. So there's another one of the animals. Now, when you come to lithium, how about that? Lithium is number 3. Lithium is, lithos means stone. Okay, so now we have 3. The number 3 gives you the foundation of a stone, whereas hydrogen is just like one element with one electron. Helium is 2, and then lithium, the stone. Now, what else is there to notice? The other thing I want to bring to attention, sodium, which comes from salt, which is the pillar of salt motif, and Sodom and Gomorrah, and it is very interesting that it has a rate of 11, and look at that atomic number there, 22. So 11, multiplied by 2, there is 22. So this, notice the name of sodium is Na. That gives you the word for nature, natural, nation, and everything that is natural, which has salt. So carbon and sodium is a very important element. And so the number 11 also has importance, and it has the idea of 2 1s, which is 2, which is duality, which is what salt does. Salt is that element that you know, makes bodies, and hence it is a polarized element. Magnesium, number 12. This is to do with magnetism. Magnesium is very, very highly magnetic, and it's number 12. And the other one that stands out is argon, 18, which is 666. Now, argon is 1% of our air that we breathe has argon in it, and it is the carrier of all other elements. Without argon, the universe cannot function. And without carbon, which is 6 in the periodic table, or 666, 6 neutrons, 6 protons, and 6 electrons, there cannot be a universe. So carbon is number 6, argon is number 18, 666, and argon is absolutely the carrier of all other elements. It's like a glue in the universe. And argon comes from Argos, which is the boat, which is the bark, which is the carrier. And so you see the 666 motif is actually dealing with argon, the carrying element. All right, now I'm going to leave it at that, and perhaps do you know, have another go at this, because we've already spent half an hour, and we've got a lot of other questions and things to do.
But the next question is going to pop out of that one too, because it's about element number 29, copper and water. That's what I want to bring you on, because there's lots of stuff being said about water. What is the best water to drink, because it's being depleted a lot, O2 depleted and all that. So and you recently came on Facebook and you posted stuff about copper that was very, very good to drink, in copper. So I would like you to extend on this after.
Okay, copper, 29. Now, copper and iron's 26, copper's 29. Right, now copper, here's what I do. I have pure copper vessel, okay, and I fill this with distilled water or demineralized water, and I put a very little bit of Celtic salt in the water and leave it overnight and drink this in the morning. I do the same with tin, okay. Now, that one's tin, the other one's copper. Now, the reason why you put distilled water in that is so that the other minerals do not react with it in an unfavorable way, okay? So, but it is not, it doesn't carry any charge. Distilled water has no charge. So in order for the copper to react with the distilled water, then you put some Celtic salt in there, and now that's going to carry an electrical charge. The other thing I do is I wear copper. So this is a copper, 100% pure copper bracelet there. There's another one that's got copper, brass, and zinc. You can see the 3 colors, copper, brass, and zinc. And on the other hand, I also have, this one is copper, 100% pure copper. Now, I have done shows on the number 26, iron. Yod-Heh Vah-Heh, Jehovah. just to show you the relationships. So you've got Yod, He, Va, He. So hang on, Yod. Sorry, I did that wrong. Yod is like this. So Yod, He, Va, He. These come to 26. And this is Jehovah. Yod, He, Va, He. Jehovah comes to 26. And in the Bible, God says, I will rule the nations with an iron rod. Iron is 26. God comes to 26. Aleph, the first letter in the Hebrew alphabet. Aleph, Yod, and Yod, 10 and 10. Vav is 6, comes to 26. L, once you put a Hebrew L here, you've got Aleph, L, that's the name for God. L comes to 13, 1 and 12. So we see here that iron has been promoted. God is iron, Jehovah is iron, Aleph, the first letter of the alphabet. Elohim comes to 52, which is twice 26, and that's God in plural. El, God singular, is 13. Elohim, 52. And 52, of course, is the number of cards you have in your card deck. So 26, all of these numbers, all of them go back to iron. Iron has been introduced to poison our blood, and we have red blood. So Adam also means iron, because in Hebrew, Adam is Ma-adim, and Ma-adim is Mars. If you put the R and the S in here, it's Mars Adam. Adam means red, Mars is red, Mars is the ruler of Aries, Mars's element is iron. Now,
and is there a relation with the iron added to our food, like in cereals and stuff like that? It's crazy the amount of iron that they add to the food these days.
Yes, to poison us. See, the elites have blue blood because they use copper, because they know that copper is the best conductor. And so rather than poisoning us with iron, we are all suffering with iron poisoning. We should be supplementing with pure copper, colloidal copper if possible, or this kind of copper. And then we will be able to actually use the iron, because iron builds up. You see, iron builds up and it stays in the system. So a lot of people are full of iron. They are poisoned by the iron. Their blood is red, which is poisoned blood. And it should be more toward this color, which is why we need copper. So rather than 26...
Again, we see the blue and red shift stuff.
We do. Copper is blue, iron is red. So blue shift, red shift. So what we have is obviously copper has the ability to cause electricity to flow better. Iron is a good conductor too, of course, but we know of copper's properties, and copper is one of the only elements that actually knows what to do with the iron in your body to use it properly.
Yeah, that's true what you're saying, because in electricity, the wire that they use the most is copper. If you want a good electrical wire, you use copper. It's the most conductive, the most expensive one also. And when you go scrap your metal at the scrap, that's what they pay the most is copper. There got to be something with copper.
Yeah, copper. And copper is, as I said, is Venus's element. And 29 and 26, iron is Mars. So you can see the polarization. Jehovah, this God of war who shall shepherd the nations with an iron rod, This is the demiurgos. He is an iron-fisted god. Iron is oppressive. Okay, copper is it's more malleable, isn't it? You can get copper and you can bend it around. Iron doesn't like to bend, does it? It's rigid. Okay, so, and that's, the demiurge is a rigid god. I'm not saying that the demiurge is evil and that we hate the demiurge. No, the demiurge is a cool guy. It's the creator of material worlds, and that is Mars, Saturn, Jupiter, and all of these guys who have their elements. And Mars is Jehovah, because Jehovah is the god of war. And so he is the iron god. Okay, now we want to get away from that god and go into the embrace of the creator, which transcends all of this demiurgic iron talk and, you know, manipulating talk and control talk. That is the God who truly frees, which is the creator, the source creator.
So I'm wondering how you connect these elements that you pulled out, the larger named ones, with, like, how would copper and francium go to, like, do those have correspondence? I mean, beyond Venus? And, like, because I was thinking about, like, how do you use these things, like, to remediate, you know, or, like, how do we actually use the knowledge? Like, we could easily use copper, I'm hearing, but how does it connect to these other elements? Because as you were talking about it, I was thinking about Venus, and I was thinking about the elements that we know go with the planets. So I'm just wondering, how do you connect the more obscure elements?
Yeah, very, very good. We probably know a lot more about copper than we know about francium. So I just said that copper is Venus's traditional astrological element, which it is. And then I showed how francium lines up with Venus in many, many ways. Well, what you will find is that some of these elements are octaves of other elements, and that they also belong to the principality or the rulership of certain planets, because that's how it works. Alchemists know this. True learned people who read books and who are learned understand this. You'll probably struggle to teach that with your average, you know, foot soldier out there who's been educated in the system. They'll probably struggle with this and think, oh, well, if you're not a Dr. Santos, you don't have any PhDs, you can't think like that, and you're not allowed to use you know, you can't be relied upon for this information. You've got to go to the textbooks and everything like that. Fair enough. You know, textbooks are great because, yes, they do give us accurate tabulated knowledge that we can then, you know, use to interrelate things. So you would find that if you went through the periodic table, you would find 30 or 40 probably elements that resonate with Venus. And what you will discover is that each one of these elements will either be one of four things. And that's how you know that you are on top of your game when you understand these four things. There are four humours in the universe. And there are two active humours and two passive humours. The active humours are hot and cold. The passive humours are dry and moist. Okay? Dryness and moisture are passive, patience, and hot and cold are active agents in the universe. Now, remember I spoke about nitrogen. I said nitrogen is fire. How do I know that? Well, because it's ignite. It's ignitrogen. And the gen on the end is to generate. So if you've got ignis, we get the word igneous from that, igneous. Igneous rocks are what kind of rocks? Well, they're the ones that, like magma, they're the ones that come from fire. Fire has melted those rocks, and you can see the effect of fire. Therefore, those rocks are called igneous, because igni, which is fire, agni, Agni means, well, Saint Agnes, the saint of the lamb. Agnes is the lamb. So igni in Latin, to ignite, is nitrogen. Therefore, nitrogen is hot and dry. So it has the active humor of hot, heat, and it has the passive humor of dryness. So nitrogen will also harmonize with other elements. Like it will harmonize so well with iron, because iron is also hot and dry. It's a hot and dry element. Copper is cool and moist. You see?
Right.
Cool and moist, because Venus is cool and moist. You can know these things. Mars is hot and dry, therefore iron must be hot and dry. So you must know your 4 astrological humors to understand that everything works like this. So when I do an astrological chart reading, which we're going to do at the end of this show, I will introduce some of this technology now, and I'll add some of this about the elements into today's chart reading to show you how I do chart readings. So if I have a look at someone's chart, you've got a chart like this. The AC is over here, the MC over here, the DC over here, and the IMC is here. So what you've got in astrology is, this is the first house, this is the second, and 12, and those are the houses. Okay, so now the strong houses are called cardines or angles, and they are the 1st and the 7th, the 10th and the 4th. Now, so let's say that okay, let's put Aries over here in the 7th house. Aries. Okay, in the 7th house. Now, Aries is a fire sign, so it's hot and dry. Now, Saturn is cold and dry. So if Saturn is in Aries, let's put Saturn here. Looks like the Hebrew lamed with a little cross on it. There you go. This is Hebrew for L, the letter L, and this is Saturn's glyph. Same thing, because L is Saturn. Okay. Of course, there's a lot of pseudo-syncretists or fake syncretists out there who will laugh at that, because they think that L is something else, and then L is Saturn. L is the sun, L is the moon, L is Mercury, because when you explain syncretism properly, you can understand this. Many people will fail to understand that due to their undeveloped soul, mind, heart, and everything. They're just underdeveloped. And so they think they know, but they do not know. Forever learning. Like, you know, you go to Danny Wilton's channel, you'll be learning rubbish forever, but you'll never come to an accurate knowledge of truth. Same with Cullen Smith, same with Christopher Lord. Their channels are forever learning, but never coming to an accurate knowledge of truth. That's in the scriptures. So now Saturn is cold and dry in Aries. Saturn hates Aries because he's too cold. Saturn loves to be in Libra. Libra is opposite. What's Libra's symbol? There's Libra, and here's Aries over here. So now let's say there's Mars is over here in Cancer, and it's squaring with Saturn. Now a square, a 90 degrees angle, is very harsh. So if Mars is squaring with Saturn in Aries, and he is cold, whereas Aries is hot and dry, this individual is probably likely to get headaches because Aries is the cerebrum. And if Saturn is in Aries, which is cold, it doesn't like to be in, Saturn hates Aries. So that coldness will cause some disturbances. And I usually, when I do the charts of individuals who have Saturn in Aries, of badly aspecting, because this is a harsh aspect, usually those people have headaches and problems, right? So what do? Well, you administer infusions like tea or crystals or tissue salts that are hot and dry to bring the balance back, because this area of the body requires hot and dry. Aries is hot and dry. So when Saturn transits Aries, every 30 years it goes around the ecliptic, every 30 years, and when it's in Aries, those people have that disturbance of Saturn, that coldness in their cerebrum. And so what you do, Paracelsus 500 years ago, Marsilio Ficino 500 years ago, they cured people with 100% effective rate by knowing the four humours and knowing when a cold planet is in a hot sign, you have to bring the balance back. And so let's say Mars is in Virgo. Well, Virgo is the intestines. Okay, so Mars is Virgo is an earth sign, and earth is cold and dry. Water is cold and wet, cold and moist, but earth is cold and dry. So if Mars is in Virgo, badly aspecting, Mars is hot and dry, Virgo is cold and dry, you need to understand that that planet is disturbing Virgo's organs, which are the intestines. These people will have a very, very fiery problem with indigestion. They will have reflux, acid reflux. They'll be taking all kinds of pills and big pharma toxins to try and squash all of their indigestion problems, when all they have to do is just add hot or dry or cold or hot. And that's what your Chinese practitioners do. They tell you to, they do your pulse. So they check your pulse, then they look at your tongue, and that's all they do. And they know how to fix you. They say, your liver's too hot. Here's some dandelion. Your kidneys are too hot. Drink some dandelion tea, because dandelion is cooling. Okay? So you've got to know your teas, you've got to know your crystals, you've got to know your tissue salts, and those are the three things that I work with. There you go. Crystals, you can see I've got wood and copper around here. Why? Because those are the elements that Arians, hot and dry, require. So I use those elements.
So maybe not everybody would want to do the cold and moist of the copper. There might be another metal that would be better suited to some people that are already cool and moist, right?
Exactly. So,
cool. Yeah.
So what you have to do now, is look at the chart. Okay. Now, a good doctor, he doesn't give you something for the flu if you walk in there and all you've got is a sore throat. Well, that's just one symptom. You need runny nose, headache, congested chest. You need to feel dizzy. You need to have, the doctor needs, you know, he sees you've got a sore throat. He sees you've got congested. He sees 10 different things and he makes a proper diagnosis. You can't just look at someone's chart here and say, oh, Saturn's in Aries. This guy has to counteract Saturn's coolness with Aries fire. This person may not get headaches. I've done the chart of people with Saturn in Aries that have never had a headache in their life, but they've got other things that Saturn has actually provoked by being in Aries, and you've got to know the full. You can't just pick sore throat and say, oh yeah, you've got a flu. Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Now, if this is kept hot and dry, I was thinking that's why I was laughing, and I was thinking that's maybe why they program us with HD signals. you know, HD is everywhere today. Everything is HD everywhere. They has to do something with this for sure.
Well, your Wi-Fi signals, they are all square wave. Right? And they're not even beautiful sine wave like that. That's your Wi-Fi. Now that rips through the elements of your body, hydrogen, carbon, nitrogen, and oxygen, the four main elements. This wave is not very friendly to those elements. Those elements do not understand this. This is hot and dry only. This is a very hot and dry wave. This one is cool. This one is cool and moist. But the perfect sine wave is the longitudinal wave. We don't need this. We don't need Wi-Fi. That's the scalar wave of Tesla, free energy. That's the longitudinal pulse of the universe. This is a wave, but here we have compression and rarefaction. And what is that? Compression is blue shift, rarefaction is red shift, and it all happens along one longitudinal line, which is hot and moist. Jupiter, Thor. Thor is the only planet in the cosmos that is hot and moist. Sun is hot and dry. Mars is hot and dry. Only Jupiter is hot and moist. And that your plants grow when it's hot and when they've got moisture. Try putting your beautiful plants, your tomato and watermelons, try putting them in the cold weather and don't water them, ever. No moisture, no heat, and you see what happens. We need it's not just that hot and moist should only exist and no coldness and no dryness. No. See, Saturn is cold and dry. Jupiter is the greater benefic in astrology because he's hot and dry, hot and moist. Saturn is the greater malefic in astrology. He is the evil one. Why? Well, because he's cold and dry. Just ask your plants what they think of cold and dry. And then you'll know the effect of Saturn. Saturn is cold and dry. And hence...
So, go ahead.
No, I'm finished.
So would you say that it would be good for us to limit our exposure to Wi-Fi? Like I have a Wi-Fi thing, a modem, what it's called, that thing that provides Wi-Fi, the router. I have a router here. Would you suggest to only operate a cable internet or not freak out with all this?
Brother, I've got a whole
cable,
in my cottage. When people come to do internet cafe in my cottage here, which every day there's folks coming down from the hill to do internet here, I say to them, you hook up one of these or you have to go elsewhere to get your internet, because I will not do Wi-Fi around my holy temple. No way. Wire up.
Mark Queen, when she came here, Mark Queen knew about that, because when she came here at night, she was unplugging everything, all the internet. I used to wake up in the morning and everything was down. And she used to tell me, "Hey, it's me. I unplug it because I don't want to sleep with the Wi-Fi on." And I'm like, "Okay, yeah, she might be right," but I never knew now to the extent that you're explaining it tonight with the waves and that.
Yeah, this wave here will make you this generates criminal activity, anxiety, stress in human beings. You see people are very stressed.
Yeah.
Anxiety, because this is hot and dry. The body cannot withstand a complete onslaught of hot and dry. It needs moisture. See, this would be much more healthy. Or a DC current. DC, we don't need AC. See, AC is doing that. AC, because it's called alternate current. So what they're doing is it's an alternator is creating, the generator is an alternator which is creating AC, not direct, but alternating current. So it's not like this, which is pulsing. Everything's alternating anyway. This is DC and AC because it's a pulse, not a particle, not a wave. There's no particles in the universe. There's only pulses. And so this is pulsating. But at the same time, it's connected. It's not a disconnected AC current. DC is the current we should be using.
And that's why there's more and more free Wi-Fi zone everywhere, like especially in McDonald's, free Wi-Fi. Isn't it convenient to program the sheep in McDonald's?
Yeah, well, the reason they do this is because you can put what they call little wave packets inside the wave. So they'll put a little message in here and another one here. This one will say, you know, go rape your grandmother. This one will say eat pig's bums, because then you'll get a lot of iron from bacon and eggs. And this one will say support global warming, the pseudoscience of hypocrite demon controllers. And so you can put packets of information in here. It's called subliminal, you know, it's a subliminal way of controlling humanity. Why? Because in this square wave, they put another one in here, which goes like this. And then they do another one. And there's all kinds of subliminal. Mate, they are programming people with the square wave. Hey guys, I just have to go and move my solar panels. I'll be back in 1 minute.
So does Santos not believe in global warming?
I don't think so. I think he
okay.
Been
this is very
Okay,
I haven't heard that, but that's very interesting because I listened to something that that group Anonymous put out like a while ago, and it was like a book that it had you download, like a free download of a book. And I was reading it, and it was about like, and it seemed to indicate that in order to control a populace, that what you have to do is get them to believe in a single idea, like united on an idea. And like, since religion is kind of out the window, that like it just occurred to me that like what would we be united behind, and it's like global warming. And so, but like everybody I say that to thinks I'm like really like off my rocker, so I've like never said it out loud to anybody, but that's really interesting that you guys think that too. Is that the reason?
But me, global warming, it's never something I think everything is in their matrix. Probably they conceive it to make us believe that there's a global warming, that the earth is warming or stuff like that. But if you come in Quebec, you will notice that the earth is not warming. The winter doesn't get, I still get snow and lots of snow, and it's still very cold. So I don't know what they're talking about really. If you go to region where there is cold, you will see that it's not really warming. But again, it's not the only indicator that tells me that. But yeah, where I live tells me that it's not warming, and also that it's a hype. It's a hype, the global warming, just to get people also to.
It seems to me a way to mobilize the more educated class behind a movement, that because it said something like it has to reach them in the heart space, not in their mind. And so like global warming would be something that we would all be like, we have to support the planet. So they're able to manipulate us by that heart feeling, whereas religion used to be what they could use. It's so interesting. Yeah,
maybe Santos can extend about it, but global warming to manipulate us all in the same direction.
Yeah, well, it's what they do is they are opportunists. Whenever they see something scary that they can use for their ends, like, I mean, like as if they can actually fix the cosmos and and correct global warming. I mean, everything is cyclical. Everything is the crest of a wave and the trough of a wave. Well, we went through a hot period. It's natural. And then we're going to cool down. It's actually now cooling down. And they know that. That's why they changed it from global warming to climate change.
Climate change, yeah.
That way they can change it and mix it up. Oh, it's cold. It's hot. Oh, there are too many hailstones out there. We have to get tax off you so that we can write books about naughty hailstones now. And we're going to have an army of people who are green, and we're going to protect you. You give us the money. We'll arm up and we'll fight global warming and terrorism, and we're going to fight things that are concepts. You know, these are demons. We have to understand, folks.
Yeah, concepts. You said it.
These are con artists. These are con artists. Everything is controlled by the creator anyway. This is why Krishna is called Ishwara Parama Krishna, which means the supreme controller of the universe. Every atom is under the creator's eyesight and knowledge and cognizance. Not a hair on your head is not known to the universal consciousness, which is the creator. And so it's all under control. We are here to be witnesses. Just observe. We're not here to judge. We're not here to do any of those interception things, to intercept nature at its work. Sometimes nature destroys, because that's part of nature. It has to.
Yeah. If we talk about manipulation, we can also put the time manipulation in it, and that was my other subject that I was going to bring on, the time construct and manipulation that we are victim of, and that versus the power of the now, versus the power of being in the now and exploiting the now fully, like I'm doing now, like you're doing now. We're in the now, expressing our birthright and everything, all the magnificent and the strength that we have. So we get that in the now. But if I'm constantly manipulated by time and kept in a war calendar and stuff, it comes and manipulate the masses a lot. So I want you to maybe explain it a little bit, how the time manipulation can affect us versus being fully anchored in the here and now.
Yeah, well, again, time is another illusion. It is an effect of magnetism. There is only magnetism, and magnetism produces magnitude, which gives the effect of space and time. Both space and time are created by the Queen of Heaven, Radharani, the consort of Krishna, which is this black light. This is source. That's Krishna. Christ, black Christ. White light, that's magnetism. That's Radharani. So we've got Radha Krishna, okay? Radha is white, black light is source light. That's the source, this is the force. This is rest, this is motion. The woman, the female energy is moving. All motion, motor, motion, action, it's all feminine. All rest is masculine. We've got it around the other way around. We always put black as feminine and white as masculine. No way. No, this is dielectricity. Krishna is dielectricity, which is the field, which is the ether, which is the medium for light, and God is light. and it's black light. These are the black holes, dark matter, dark energy, black goo, whatever bullshit they want to call it, the ether. Anything but calling it ether, because ether is scriptural and it points you back to the scriptures and transcendental scriptures and brings you back to God, the creator, right? Einstein rejected the ether, the black light. It's actually black and white light. Now, when these two field modalities, rest and motion, rub against each other, they produce electromagnetism, which is red and blue, red shift, blue shift. Or you could see it as 7 colors, the 7 colors of the rainbow. The rainbow comes from this. The rainbow is the symbol of Quetzalcoatl, Kukulkan, Viracocha, the feathered sun disk of Egypt, because the Aboriginals call it the feathered serpent, the rainbow serpent. Rainbow serpent. Well, rainbow has 7 colors, which is red shift, blue shift. One end of the rainbow is red, the other end is blue. That's red shift, blue shift. And the rainbow teaches you, it teaches you that we see those colors only. That's the spectrum. That is how much we can see. That thin sliver is all we can see. And that is the demiurgos. That is the creator of physical worlds. Red, blue. Red blood, blue blood. Red pill, blue pill. It's the rainbow. The rainbow comes from these 2 field modalities, rest and motion. In fact, the two co-eternal, coexistent principles of the universe are inertia and acceleration, black light, inertia, rest, inertia and acceleration. White light, the pure virginal white light of our mother who art in heaven, is force and motion. Okay, motion gives us motor. Tom, all is a tum. Tor, all is torus fields. That's what a motor is, because torus backwards is rotate. Okay, to rotate, that's what torus fields are doing. They're rotating. And this rotation, this white and black light, which are not colors, produce the colors, produce the chromatic universe that we live in. And chromatic, chrome, and chronos, time, and chrome, color, one and the same. The colors in the universe from the rainbow all come from Saturn, because all is Atum, and Atum is Saturn. Okay? Time and space come from this. It's called time dilation. You see, the forever now is here on the longitudinal plane. But see, when you have the Tropic of Cancer up here and the Tropic of Capricorn over here, and this is the equator, well, the sun on the ecliptic goes from March, Aries, to Cancer, June, to Libra, September, to Capricorn, January, and it's going hot, cold, and what is happening is, depending on the compression of the tropics, depends on how much time we get and how fast time. You see, if I get a rope, if this is a rope that is stretched out and you've got someone over here pulling and someone over here pulling that rope, the moment you tug on that rope, this guy tugs, that guy gets the message instantaneously. That's what Einstein and all of these quantum particle idiots try to tell you is what we call instantaneous action at a distance. How many magicians and esoteric writers and electricians and scientists and alchemists have written about instantaneous action at a distance? Well, it's only through the longitudinal wave. Here there is no speed of light. This is the speed of light here, the wave, and it's 186,000 kilometers per second. But here there's no speed limit. This is 1 trillion times faster. This is infinitely faster than the speed of light. The speed of light is electromagnetic, but when you're talking about magnetodielectricity, this is magnetodielectricity, this is electromagnetism. They're two different field modalities, totally two different things. This one gives you time. This is the forever now. Nothing changes here. Nothing changes along the longitudinal wave. Here, all particles, so-called, are entangled. Here we have time dilation, electromagnetic retardation, displacement of, spiral rotating energy. It's displaced. That's why they call it shift, blue shift, red shift, because it's not. The magnetic energy has got retardation. It's called the Lemur frequency, Lemur, and so it's built in. So time is built into the wave, and the wave belongs to Saturn because he is the master of electricity.
There you go. Very well explained. Do you have any question, Lily?
I do, because I think this would be a moment to bring up the fact that in this book, The Light of Egypt, that this guy, Thomas Burgoyne, is talking about how from the external side, that the wave is one way, but from the internal, it's a mirror image. Like from the spiritual side, do you know what I'm talking about? And it's really kind of hard to wrap your mind around, but he would say that the tropics are opposite, right? So that from the internal, from the spiritual side, that the Tropic of Cancer would be at the bottom and the Tropic of Capricorn would be at the top. And so I'm just having a little trouble like understanding what he's talking about. And I feel like that you've integrated the knowledge, and I'm wondering if you could kind of talk about that for a minute.
Yes, easy. So Walter Russell was good at explaining this because he did everything in vortexes like this. That's how he did the wave. Okay, so we've got spiraling. Okay, and then what's going out this way is also going out this way at the same time. Okay, but what's doing that is also now has got another plane in the middle here, which is also going like this. And so now you have another. Let's superimpose maybe a different color. Now you've got this going on. So what we have is, and Ken Wheeler is good at explaining this because he says when humans draw a line like this, they start here and they go like that. That's how we do a line. Okay? Well, it's a point line. Point line. Well, nature nowhere does this. Only humans do this because we can. Nature can't do that. What nature does is it goes like this. Point line. So it goes from here and it goes like this. Okay, but it just doesn't do a straight line, it does curved linear lines. So
like a flower that open.
Yes. So it goes like that. Okay? So if it goes like that, if it just doesn't go like that, it goes like that. But if we look at it from here, we're not looking at just this. We're looking at, we have to give it depth. So we've got this.
Yeah.
And so this has got depth this way, it's got amplitude that way, width, and it's got height. And so it's doing this. This is the center. Walter Russell says this is where magnetism is, and all of the rest is electricity. So, but he's incorrect, because he's saying that white light is the still centering light of the red and blue. He's saying white light is what centers red and blue, but it's not. White light generates red and blue. Black light is the centering light. It's black light, not white light. So he totally didn't even regard black light. So what we have, but he did get this right. He said, when the energy is going that way, compressing, that's what we call an electron. When it's going that way, expanding, that's what we call a proton. And this point here, this inertial plane here in the center, that is the neutron. Well, I'll tell you exactly what a proton and a neutron and an electron is. It is dielectricity, neutron, black light; magnetism, proton, white light, and they're always together. Hence, sorry, if I grab that again, that wave that I went like this, like that, well, all we have to do is just do that. Is it not? Is it
Yeah.
Okay, so what we have now, is we have the child of the neutron and the proton, Krishna and Radharani, white light, black light, and it's called electricity. And electricity is quite simple to explain. This is how easy it is to explain. It is and I need new ones of these. That's what electricity is. Electricity is the material world. Atom, red; Eve, blue; iron, copper; red blood, blue blood; roses are red, violets are blue; Republicans are red, Democrats are blue. Neither gives a shit about you. Red siren, blue siren; hot water, red tap; blue cold water tap. Okay, so that's all that's going on, because electricity gives you polarity, not magnetism. Magnetism, the proton, and dielectricity, the first yin and yang. So this is the second one. The red and blue yin and yang, this is the demiurgos. The white and black yin and yang, that is not the demiurgos. That yin and yang does not participate in the material world. That is the transcendental one. That is the original one, black and white, because black and white are not material.
Okay.
They are not material. They are spiritual. So you see, dielectricity, magnetism, and electricity are in fact neutron, proton, and electron. And how that works is simple. All atoms are gyroscopes. They're all gyroscopes. That's an atom. Have you seen that symbol anywhere before?
No, never. Just kidding. Yes. Now he said that's Pisces.
Pisces?
Yeah, it's what it said in the book, and I found that so interesting. Yeah. No, I know, but in here he was saying like in the spiritual understanding of the house system that when you got to Pisces, it was that symbol because it was talking about coming back up the wave and yeah.
Yep, yep. All atoms, all is atom, and all atoms are little crosses. That's all they are. Because you've got the inertial plane, and then you've got the torus field.
Right.
Going around like that, the figure 8. And these are toruses. And so all the donuts that you see, they've got, in the middle, they've got a hyperboloid. That's the hourglass in the middle. And then this is called the torus. This is the bull, and this is the torus. So you've got torus, tor, rotate, rotate, tor, same word. And then you've got, in the middle, you've got the hyperboloid, boloid. So bull, that's the bull. Okay, and that's red. Taurus is the word, means red. And bull means blue. Same letters.
But would you say that if you were to put the zodiac on there and what he's saying, because he's saying one's a mirror image, would you say that one twists in and one twists out and that the spiritual process is somehow related to what's coming in and what's twisting out? Does that make sense at all? Like, I feel like that there's one impulse that goes out, but there's another impulse, I guess, blue shift that goes in.
Yes. Yes. Red is going out, blue is going in. Blue is compressing.
Okay.
Blue is compression, red is rarefaction. So compression is this, compressing the air, and rarefying the air is, it's a breath.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And so you have your inertial plane, and then you have your divergent rays going like that, and then converging, diverging, converging. And so this is basically what you see for Pisces.
Oh, right.
Is it not?
It is. Huh.
And Aries is what? The first sign is Aries, number 1. The last sign is Pisces, number 12. Jesus is the Lamb of God and the fisherman of men. And he says, I am the first and the last. Because he is the Lamb of God, Aries, and that symbol is basically just a torus field. And here we've got the inertial plane, Pisces, and the torus field, and the hyperboloid in the middle. All the glyphs of astrology, all of them go back to the torus field, which is a little gyroscope. You look at a gyroscope, it's got a flywheel in the middle, and then it's got a tree like that. And so what you do is this is accretion disk. It's like a flywheel, and that's the inertial plane. And the tree in the center, that's the tree of life in the middle of every atom. I can tell you exactly how our solar system works, right?
And
without.
Why is the apple? Because when I see this, I see the shape of an apple too, and you see the apple everywhere in all the mythology. Everywhere it's the apple. Even on the computer, we have it, even with a bite on it. So, what's the correlation with this and the apple?
Okay.
Apollo. There you go, Apollo.
Because Apple is related to Apollo, which is Saturn. Okay? Apollo, Apple, the apples of Apollo. And Apis is the bull. Apis is the bull of April. April is what? Taurus. April, the bull Taurus turns up because April is dealing with Apis, the bull. That's why the Alexandrians 2,000 years ago, when syncretism prevailed throughout the whole of the globe, they worshipped Serapis, which was a bull god. Jabulon. Jabul. That's the Freemasons. They tell you that's the name of God. Jabulon. Well, Serapis also gives you what else? There's a lot of words that have this apple, and so.
But there's the serotonin. You know serotonin. It's one of the
serotonin. Seraphim.
Seraphim.
Seraphim. It comes from the same thing. You just put a ph there. You've got seraphim, right? Well, that all comes from Apis, from the bull, because the bull is the Taurus field. And it's the most common motif of animals in the universe, the ox or the bull.
Wow. You have any question, Ellie?
Yeah, well, I'm also thinking about how, like, on the Taurus field, that is like the zodiacal wave that you show, like, each of us have planets on different parts of that wave. And I'm just wondering, like, it seems like, you know, constantly there are different waves twisting in, you know, like, of the energy. And I'm wondering how, like, how does that relate? Like, you know, there are different waves going on all the time. And, you know, how do we use skillful means in order to navigate, you know, like, maybe we have a planet on the wave, you know, and then I don't know, like, I'm just thinking, like, maybe like that a wave twists in, that's the now moment, and then we've got something else twisting out. Like, there's something going on energetically with the process.
Well, we learned from the little graph that I put up before that when energy goes out that way, it's also instantaneously projecting energy out the other way at the same time. It can only work that way. So this wave, you could call it the base wave, okay? There's always a base wave. So when you play, say, a musical note, so there's an E, okay? So you can hear that E. But in there are other harmonies, like there's a G sharp and a B. And there's harmonics. So what you've got now is you can only call this E because it is E, and that's the full. So the length of this string is going to be, it's always going to be an E, okay? So, but at the middle of the string, I play that's a higher octave E. So you can hear that, okay? But in every, so you can call that the bass tone, right? So when you halve that, now, if you see the string, you'll see a wave like this in the string, and you'll call that E, okay? Now that's the start of the guitar neck, that's the end of the guitar neck. So you've got one bass note. Now, at the same time, something else is going on. You've got this. And then you've got another one. Right? So they are called overtones or harmonies. Okay? And so astrologically, so you could be, say, Virgo. Okay? So your sun's in Virgo and it's producing this Virgoan tone in your body. Okay, now depending on all the other planets and how they are arranged in the chart, there will be many other subtones and overtones. Over, sub, doesn't matter, but there'll be millions, endless. And you could pick one of those waves, isolate them. In the studio, you can isolate the waves, the frequency, pull it out, take it right out if you want. It's called mastering. You can put waves in, you can take them out. So what you're doing is you say, I don't like this. You take it out. And so, but that wave there could have been producing a lot of harm to your body. And so you cancel it. Or it could have been a good overtone. So in your astrological chart, the whole chart is one tone. But when you look at the other planets, you see undertones, overtones, subtones, harmonies, harmonics. So you've got to be able to look at the whole picture. Like a musician, he can't just go, well, I'm going to entertain you guys tonight. Here we go. Just play one note all night long. You'll get thrown out of the gig. So a musician, he's got to know how to play chords, rhythms, syncopation, harmonies, harmonics. And that's what the astrologer does. He doesn't just have a look at one thing. He separates all the parts and then puts them back like a good watchmaker in Switzerland. He's got a million little things that you wouldn't know what. You would never know where to start to put that watch together. But he starts. And then after 20 minutes, he's got a watch ticking, telling the time. So the same is with astrology. The same is with energy. This is energy. And to understand energy, you see most people, because of their limited education and their limited indoctrination, they think energy is this. Two things, positive and negative, polarization, duality. But it's not. Nothing in the universe is that simple. It starts simply. It does maintain a simple foundation, but energy must be understood like this. 2 becomes 4, 4 becomes 12. And now you understand every sine wave. You understand that every sine wave starts with plasma. Aries, cardinal fire. Fire is plasma. Energy, radiance. Air is gas. Water is liquid. Earth is solid. Now we're not talking astrology anymore. Now we're talking science. And scientists will say, oh yeah, forget the 4 elements. That's all astrological poo-poo, demon, devil. That's from the devil. We talk in terms of 4 states of matter: plasma, gas, liquid, solid. Okay, let's humor the scientists then, shall we? Okay, so let's teach the electricians about electricity, shall we? The electrician will turn around and say, oh yes, it's positive and negative. You've got a battery, that's the positive terminal, that's the negative terminal. Yeah, if you're simple-minded, that battery is doing 12 things, not 2 things. 12 things. Each wave starts with plasma. Each wave. Every wave starts here. Every wave. Every wave. Not just some waves. Some waves start in Capricorn, Earth. Impossible. No energy can start with Earth. It can never start with Earth. All energy is transcendental plasma. First, it is fire. Fire is the generator. Taurus. The creator, the actor, the author of the universe is this. Plasma. So, plasma, then Taurus is solid, then Gemini is gas, then Cancer is liquid. And along the ecliptic, this is what's going on. When a wave starts, it is fiery. Then it is earthy. Then it is gaseous. Then it is liquid. And then it repeats. Fire, earth, air, water. Fire, earth, air, water. But not the same. Because there are 4 elements, but there are 3 modalities. Cardinal, fixed, and mutable. Okay, so the elements will repeat, but the modalities will not. So cardinal fire will only happen here. It's the only place along the ecliptic. Over here in Leo, you've got fixed fire. That's a different kind of fire. That's cardinal fire, Aries. That's fixed fire, Leo. Then Sagittarius is mutable fire. Okay? Etc., etc. Let's do a chart reading, shall we?
Yeah, she had a question for you regarding astrology first, and then maybe we can go
Oh,
on
I
with
think
the...
we've got him. No, let's do the chart.
You got them?
That was awesome. Oh, the way that he just talked about the harmonies,
okay.
like that is so great. That's how to chart. That's how to like transits fit in, because you would want, when you're looking at a transit chart, you would want to harmonize with the natal harmonies that are and overtones that are already there. That's a great metaphor and way to think about it.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah. So the bird chart tonight that we're gonna do is one of my great brother, guy I discovered, but he discovered me through Motivation Academy and probably the Truman Show also, is Ricky Longhill, Richard Langdon, his real name, and is born on 14th of August 1979 in Erie, Pennsylvania. He told me between 4 and 5, so I said, okay, we'll go with 4:30.
Yeah, I don't like that. We really need the exact time. But anyway, 14th of August, 79. I'll put that in. See what we can do.
Maybe he's going to come up with something. But...
So was that 4 p.m.?
Yeah, 4 p.m.
And what was the place again?
Erie, Pennsylvania.
How do you spell that?
Erie is Erie, Erie, Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania.
All right, 4 p.m. I'll share my screen, and we will have a look. This time we'll do this chart with the idea of the medicals. Okay, so
yeah.
Now, first thing you notice here is this individual has got Sun conjunct Jupiter and Venus. Okay, so can you see that?
Yeah.
All right, now he's a Leo, so his Sun is in Leo. Okay, now also the Sun is receiving two harsh squares, one from the Moon. You can see that red line, red shift, bad. Blue lines, blue shift, good. See those blue lines to Pluto? That's all good. Now, the Sun, he's at the top of that red pyramid. That red pyramid there, you can see that there. Uranus over here, Moon over here, Sun over there, makes what's called a T-square. Now, I know for a fact that these will cause medical situations in the body. Now, Leo is the heart and the circulatory system. This guy has probably got what we call, erroneously, hereditary heart condition, okay? He might think, oh, my father, you know, and his father had heart problems and his father died of a heart attack. It always carries through the chart. Here I can see clearly, this guy will have heart and blood circulation issues, okay? Now, what kind of issues? Well, the Sun loves Leo, so this is not causing any problem except for those squares. Those squares will be, from the Moon especially, they will hurt the Sun, okay? Jupiter is also hot and moist, and Venus is cool and moist. So these two planets are bringing moisture here into the heart and into the blood and the circulatory system. So this is an excess of moisture, okay? Moisture is the problem here, not warmth, because Leo is warm, it's fire, and it's hot and dry, but Venus will bring wet, and Jupiter also is very wet, very moist. So moisture is going to be a problem here. Okay, so for the blood, this individual will need to supplement or take herbs, perhaps infusions of tea, which will dry up the blood. Keep it as dry as possible, because there's too much moisture in there. And I would recommend to take magnesium phosphate, okay? Because when your Leo is suffering, which this is the case, the tissue salt for Leo is magnesium phosphate, okay? And that will help in the heart. It'll soften the heart and the arteries and the veins, keep them nice, soft and pliable and flowing. And that will correct itself. All he needs to know is look at the planets that are in Leo to realize that they are too wet. The warmth is good. Venus is warm. She's not exactly cold, but Jupiter is hot, Sun is hot. So we've got two orbs that are hot, which correspond well with Leo, hot and dry. So and the Sun is hot and dry, so that's his home. Leo is the domicile of the Sun is the domicile of Leo, so that's good. Now, Jupiter, though, is a little bit uncomfortable there, and that is simply because there's too much moisture. Now, having considered that, and I'm not a doctor, and I'm not a naturopath, and I'm not a biochemist or an expert on the body and whatnot, but I know that in Leo, these planets are probably not so harmful, okay? Because why? Well, because blood flows and it's moist, is it not? There is moisture in blood. So Venus and Jupiter are probably not disturbing this sign so much at all. I would say it's these planets here squaring with them. And I would still look at this and I would still suspect that there's too much moisture in the blood. Okay. Now, the other problem here I can see is Taurus. The moon is good in Taurus. It exalts in Taurus. So it's a great moon. This individual has absolutely got lots of essential dignities. Sun in Leo, moon in Taurus, beautiful. Mars in Cancer, bad. Not good, okay, because Mars falls in Cancer. It exalts in Capricorn, opposite. But here, I would say there's nothing wrong with the humours. Moon would be cold and moist, and so Taurus is cold, and so they harmonise quite well, not a problem. But again, I would still consider Taurus to be weak, due to that T-square and the disharmonious energy through those red aspects pointing to Taurus. So I would take here, in the case of this guy, I would take sodium sulfate for Taurus. And that will help with the endocrine system, as Taurus is the ruler of the endocrine system. Hey, stop it. Hey. Shut up. Those are me birds. Going crazy. And Scorpio too. Scorpio is calcium sulfate. So this individual needs Leo, Virgo, Libra salts, because all Leos are deficient in those three salts. And then on top of that, he would need Scorpio, which is debilitated. I can see that here. Taurus is debilitated, and so is Sagittarius. Okay, now Sagittarius is silica. This individual definitely needs some silica. And that will show, the symptoms will show on the face. You can tell the deficiencies by facial diagnosis. So this individual needs 7 salts. And I would probably be, I'd be looking at Mars in Cancer here. This will This will be not very good. Too hot. Mars is too hot for Cancer, and too dry. Cancer is cold and wet. Mars is hot and dry. So this is totally not good here. This will affect the stomach. This individual will probably have some stomach problems. Mars will, because Cancer is the digestive system. Okay, every sign has its respective system, and it will be too hot, too much fire in the stomach. You
I
know,
thought Cancer was the lungs.
Gemini.
Oh, okay, and that Virgo was the digestive system.
Virgo is more to do with the excretory, but it is also the bowels. Virgo is the bowels and the intestines and the excretory system. Cancer is totally the digester. The stomach is Cancer, and the spleen, and what else? The breast. You see the milk of the mother and all of that, the fluids there. So, but the spleen and the stomach is ruled by Cancer. So this person probably has digestive problems and probably could have spleen issues. Okay. Now, just a general reading here. We notice that there are many planets here in the 8th house. The 8th house is dealing with occult knowledge and also sexual energy. It's very sexual. There's other things too, like it deals with death, it deals with inheritance from partners and other people. So this individual, having so many beautiful planets here, Jupiter, Venus, Sun, can definitely expect some kind of an inheritance or wealth from a partner, some sort of support from a partner, a marriage partner, and some kind of assistance there, and lots of resources coming from the partner. So this will be a wise individual to partner up with partners. But it also indicates, this is also a very spiritual area too. Deep esoteric knowledge is to be uncovered and will be uncovered by this individual. Saturn in the 9th house by day is pretty good. Also, this is the house of spirituality, dreams, visions, religion and spiritual practice. Again, higher learning. The North Node is here. So the North Node tells you where to spend a lot of life energy, so as to get the most you can from the chart. So basically the North Node, which is Rahu, the head of the dragon, tells you what you should master, cultivate, develop, improve, and perfect in the lifetime. So this individual needs to, learn spiritual secrets, deep, penetrating spiritual secrets, needs to embrace higher learning, must learn the higher secrets of life and put them to practice. So spiritual practice is here in this house. The individual definitely needs to take care of that part of the life, okay? Pluto here in the 10th house is a big, promising and wealthy career. Uranus is in the social 11th house, the social life, friends, clubs, groups, etc. This is also very good because Uranus is definitely a very active kind of a planet. bringing forth a lot of activity in that area. So starting from here, the social life, Uranus in the 11th, Pluto in the 10th. This is the public life. Here we have higher learning, and here we have deep learning, secret learning. All of this is where most of the action is happening. So I would be taking care of these spiritual themes here of the 8th and 9th house. Then we've got the moon over here in the 6th house. Now that has to do with, the lesson there would be, you know, service to others. It corresponds with Virgo's designations. And so moon is the first lady. She is the reactor. She gives, I guess, mental and emotional energy to the house. So this individual needs to emotionally charge himself when it comes to serving others. Do it with emotion. Do it with all your mind and heart. Have your heart in it. Know that the moon is shining her moonshine onto others here, and it would be wise to channel that moon energy and apply that, serving others. Okay, so moon is telling you to serve others. Sun in the 10th house is telling you to acquire deep, deep esoteric wisdom. Saturn is giving you the greatest of counsel when it comes to religion and spirituality, deep visions. This person, if this is the right time of the native, 4 p.m., well, this individual is going to have, you know, a high station in life when it comes to learning the higher secrets and teaching them. He'll be a great teacher. Saturn is a teacher.
He is
Yep.
already.
Yep. All right. There's lots of other things.
Yeah, but hold on. You touched the point on many, because he was commenting in the chat at the same time we were reading it, and he was saying that his paternal grandparents had heart problem, and you were mentioning it. He had problem with his tummy as a child, very much. He had a lot of acid reflux in his 20s, very bad, and he has a mild scoliosis. So you touched on all the point.
Yeah, okay. So if I grabbed my synchrota wheel, which I will do just quickly. So this is what I call the synchrota wheel. Let's get rid of that. What we can do is have a look at the specific degree. The sun is on the 21st degree of Leo. I want to see if there's any other physical things there. And we see there's nothing specific there on the 21st degree of Leo, but that deacon there has to do with circulation. So in this case, it looks like blood and circulation rather than heart. The blood and the circulation need to be addressed. Possibly, I don't know, Jupiter could probably cause expansion and sort of like problems with high blood pressure. I'm hunching.
And what about that red triangle in there, he's asking?
Well, that's causing tension. Those red lines, those are squares, 90 degrees. As you can see, Uranus is 90 degrees away from the sun, and that is a very, abrupt angle. The blue ones are more harmonious. This one here, for instance, from Neptune, that's called a trine. That's from Sagittarius to Leo. Those are both fire signs. So they are harmonious because they're both in fire. Okay, so the blue lines usually go from, see the moon here? She's sending a blue line from Taurus to Virgo. So she's trining Saturn, and Saturn's sending a beautiful blue line there to the moon. Those are both Earth. So you see the blue lines in the chart, they are harmonious because they usually only are in the same element, okay? Whereas your squares, so Sun squaring the Moon, Sun is in Leo, Moon is in Taurus, that's fire and earth. So that those elements are contrasting. So the Moon is probably causing, and Uranus over here, they are causing the disturbance to the heart. Not so much Venus, Jupiter and Sun. These planets are okay together, okay? This is a good stellium here. This is very good. This individual will be very generous and very loving from the heart. I mean, he's got Sun, Jupiter and Venus and Mercury in the heart. This individual communicates from the heart very, very expressively.
You just have to check his channel. It's Rise in Love, and you will see that's his channel, Rise in Love. So imagine he speaks from the heart. He's gonna be a world famous poet in a very short time.
Yeah, well, Mercury in Leo will cause the heart to be very fluent in expressing. So this individual needs to know that he's got a massive, massive heart energy. Okay, 4 planets in Leo in the 8th house, very creative, very creative. The 8th house generates a lot of creativity. It's one of those artistic places. Sexual energy is there too. So good libido, nice and strong, and sexual energy is pure and divine. So it should be channeled correctly. And this will be a man with a big heart and a big future. But this Mars in Cancer, lots of acidity and lots of you know, problems there with stomach, I would say. So that needs to be addressed. I can go way further into this and give other suggestions here, but Mars and Mercury are not aspecting in this chart, which means they're not talking to other planets. They are all on their own, which means sometimes you have to engage your action principle, because Mars is not engaged. So that has to be engaged for you to get action done, so you don't procrastinate. And Mercury will sometimes, this will be sort of like an individual who sometimes doesn't communicate unless engaged or unless provoked or invited to speak, because Mercury not aspecting tends to disengage itself from communication, etc. So these are just things to keep in mind. They're not pitfalls, they're not weaknesses in the chart, they're just things to learn so you can know your chart better.
Yeah, that's it. So thank you very much. Santos, do you have anything to add?
No, that's about it. So we just showed how to tell by the 4 humors which signs and which parts of the body can be suffering.
Yeah. Greatness. Thank you very much for coming again tonight. It was greatly appreciated. So as I say all the time, stay away from Babylon evil. You're too much of a wonderful people for that. So boom, we're out.
Bye.
Great.
Thanks,
Thank you very much,
Yeah.
everyone. See you next week.
Au revoir.
Au revoir. Ja Rastafari.